Well, Cameron, it's been great talking to you.
We're back again, Lynn.
We are indeed. And this is a really good topic because in our last conversation we were talking about if people are made in the image of God and of equal dignity, how powerful that is. Today, now we want to talk more about, well, what does that look like in practice?
Because it's hard, right?
It is hard, but it's really important. So let's say the gospel tells us to treat all people as valuable and as people that God loves and therefore we love. So what does that look like in practice? Now, I know you've got a great story about this.
There's a homelessness service, a Salvation Army homelessness service, and it's fantastic. The staff there, the pastors, the professional social workers, the volunteers, they said, we're committed to this idea of all people created in the image of God. So what do? How do we change our service to reflect it? And I was there doing research, and it was nothing short of life-changing to see what they did. When you walk into the homelessness service, there's a big perspex barrier there protecting the workers from the homeless people. They said, this is madness. How does this say all people
we love you?
How does it say we love you? How does
it
say we have equal worth?
Yeah.
How does this see us as a collective in relationship? Because it doesn't, knocked it down. Many staff
bit
were concerned
dangerous,
about,
right?
Staff said that.
Yeah.
Not been one bit of violence since. And a lot of people said that the violence, the tension in the place is reduced accordingly. There was a kitchen there where the clients would line up and be given their food. How does this say dignity, they said? They changed it to a cafe.
Well, people order and choose what they like.
They choose what they want because
it's
respecting people.
Because I choose what I eat, right?
That's right. There were people living in dormitories. And so it was a big service. They knocked all of the dormitories out and they're all single rooms.
Wow.
They said, how is it living as an adult in a dormitory?
Interesting.
Dignity. It actually meant fewer people could stay there, less revenue, but they didn't care. They said, we really need to make sure that the built form, what we do signals this equal worth, this dignity.
I think for me too, when I think about what makes me feel valued, there's a couple of things, and I think it's really important. Things like people's names. Now, I know not everybody's great at names, but when I know your name, I say, I remember you. You know, you're significant.
I mean something.
Yeah, you mean something about it. You're significant. So I think things like learning people's names, whether they've come into our Connect site or to our core, it doesn't matter. Like, knowing your name matters, and using your name, giving eye contact. And I do think as our society depersonalises through the use of social media and other forums.
Well, you can't go into a bank, go online, do everything.
And look, maybe some of those processes might be necessary, but I think, well, I give you eye contact, right? So in the shop, you know, I don't stay on my phone while you're serving me. I look in your eye and I thank you because you're a person of value and dignity. And so those, I think, are good examples. I think in our core contexts, the other thing is that we are all people with a contribution to make. So this idea that I'm the worker and that you're the helper and you say, here, I'll help you. And I go, no, let me serve you. There's actually an old Christian song that talks about, brother, sister, let me serve you. Pray that I might have the grace to let you be my servant too, that there might be a place for you to contribute.
But we'd only do that because we're of equal worth.
Indeed, So in a core, that might mean rostering people on or inviting volunteers across the entire congregation or our Connect sites. But there are some challenges. So we have an example at the moment of somebody who's accessing our service who wants to also volunteer, who wants to do a placement there. And I think, there's some complex power issues. So what are some of the other challenges for you?
There's a brilliant Army officer in Tasmania, and I learn a lot from her in research. She is absolutely committed to ensuring her service is the embodiment of all people created in the image of God. But she said, Cameron, that doesn't mean that we are a utopic world. Sometimes we need to ban people. She gave an example of someone who assaulted a staff member. That person was banned for 3 months. But she said that person is not banned from the relationship. That person is no lesser, is of lesser value than us. She said that when I walk out on the street, I'll look for that person and engage in relationship. They're banned from the service for safety reasons, but that doesn't change how we think about that person.
Not banned from relationships.
Absolutely
That's a great way of saying it. Because look, I think safety is one of the questions that we've got to ask. How do we create a space that values people, all people, and creates safety, but never at the expense of a relationship? That's a good one,
But don't you think a great way to promote safety is through relationships.
Indeed, which is what the example you gave before. The barrier was there to protect, but actually in a way it heightened distinction and therefore...
It sends signals, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That you're the dangerous, I need to be protected from you.
And by taking that away, we say, actually, let's sit on this lounge together and have a talk. I will learn your name, and that creates a context for a safe place.